Okay, we're gonna get started. Welcome, thanks for coming out tonight. I wanted to change our pace up a little bit. Normally we have these public safety meetings at CBS Radford in Studio City. I thought it would be a great idea to come to the North Hollywood Police Station, and the officers here thought it was a great idea as well, as did CPAB, or those of you not familiar with CPAB, we'll introduce them in just a moment. We do have some formalities to the evening that we have to go through, so just bear with me. The meeting is called to order. I will go over the roll call. I'll call it tonight. Craig Radow, that's myself. On the Studio City Neighborhood Council, and I am the Public Safety Chair. I am here. John Croteau, the Vice Chair, who's also on the Neighborhood Council, did have to fly out of town today, so he is not here. Marcia Newman. Here. On our committee. Patty Paul has an excused absence. She was under the weather. Patty Kirby. Here. And there you go. So we have 3 members here this evening, 3 committee members. You guys received the minutes from the April 22nd meeting. Do you approve?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So just a couple updates from myself. First of all, we're going to hear from Officer Smith in a little bit, but I want to personally thank him and the entire CPAB organization for their help this past Saturday. We had the first annual Studio City Festival in Moorpark Park. It was a great event, I would say, and a nice turnout from the community. And we had a what did you call the mobile vehicle?
Mobile command post, yeah.
Mobile post.
We affectionately call it the bread wagon.
Yeah, we call it
Okay.
Yes.
lunch truck.
We had a number of officers there. Officer Smith was there. We put up a big sign saying, "Come meet Officer Smith." Thanks to you for putting that up. I think it was beneficial hopefully for you and for the community as well. We gave out a lot of cheeseburgers, and I spun a lot of cotton candy. And I think it was a nice event, and like I said, it was the first one, so we'll do this again hopefully next year.
And it was totally awesome.
It was yeah, that's how we called it. It's a totally awesome summer festival. It was a great kickoff. On a more serious note, I know we've had a couple of more serious crimes that took place over the last couple of weeks. Officer Smith will address them later, including that home invasion with the elderly lady. There was a couple mugged at gunpoint in the footbridge section. So, I hope we have some updates. I hope there will be some resolution. But there are some serious issues, and that's why we're here. That's why you're concerned. That's why members of CPAB will be addressing and to see what we can do as stakeholders to move the needle, to help get some traction, get some legislation going, make some noise. Volunteers. We had Sergeant Leone has asked me to pass along that if anyone is interested in volunteering here at the police station, they could use the help once a week, once every other week, and that will alleviate some of the desk duty and the office work, so allow the officers back on the street. Oh, I was just mentioning the volunteerism.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry, if you've had a handful of people email me, I haven't even had a chance to open my emails. It's been a bit of a crazy week with our cadet program, so I've been a little bit overwhelmed. But thank you for those of you who have emailed me to sign up to volunteer.
The cadets are doing their own ride-alongs. We gotta put a stop to
So
that.
it might be a week or two
soon,
before
too
I get
soon.
back to you. I
Could you sum up what a volunteer might look like, entail?
Well, I mean, it's probably not going to be glamorous work. It's, going to be clerical type stuff, filing stuff, helping out with some spreadsheets on the computer. Detectives need help with filing things. The senior lead officers need help with filing reports. You know, it's not glamorous stuff, but, you know, it's those little things that enable us to actually get out in the field and be involved in community activities, be foot beats out on the street, because those things that volunteers aren't doing, people like me are doing. So I'm spending hours, you know, doing a lot of administrative stuff when, you know, we could have volunteers doing that. So that's really in a nutshell what we're looking for. And we could use that type of help in every aspect of the station. The senior lead office, detectives, the watch commander, back in community relations.
If anyone's interested, you could see me after, and I can give you Sergeant Leone's email.
And really what I'm looking for is some consistency. You know, so if you could only give me, you know, if you give me 2 hours a week, you know, it's at least something that I could consistently pencil, you know, you in for. So that way, you know, if like our records office has some reports that need to be filed and they know you're coming in Monday from 12 to 3, well then they can set that aside for you. So, you know, consistency and a commitment is what, you know, is what's really important, because there's a bunch of paperwork and an application process and fingerprinting, background check that goes into processing a volunteer, and there's an orientation that takes place, and then to go through all that to only have somebody, you know, sporadically, you know, isn't unfortunately very beneficial. So that's really it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect timing. And I just want to give everyone an update of what we are, because we have a small committee, as you saw a moment ago when I did the roll call, so we're looking to expand that committee. And the reason why that's important is we help create motions that then goes in front of the whole neighborhood council that does affect change on a small scale. And just to give you an idea of some of the motions we've passed and that we brought in front of the entire board, include having a greater police presence, back to basic car. Some of you might have seen my next door post, and that passed unanimously both in the committee and in the full board, and that goes right to the mayor, it goes right to the police chief, it goes right to all the city council members. We also passed a reward for knock-knock burglaries at the last meeting, that also passed. And there was one more.
Message board.
The message board, C-PAB has made the suggestion of that the station could use message boards to communicate with the officers among themselves, and we got money for them, and that motion passed also unanimously at a recent board meeting. So together with C-PAB, ourselves, the community, we're slowly making some inroads in various areas. So at this time, we will open up to public comments. If anyone has a public comment to make, you could say it now, or you could save your question for Officer Smith in a moment.
Yes, I do.
Please.
Okay, I live on St. Clair Avenue and Valley Spring, and I'm told
Your
that
name, please.
oh, sorry, Nigel Brent. I've been made aware that there is an epidemic portion, activity of cars being stolen into. How they're doing it is they bought a little thing like a scammer.
Yep.
And anybody who's got a car that uses a remote door opener, it will deactivate it. Are you aware of the situation? Okay. Is there a solution? Well, I have got a solution after very careful research. And I brought some forms along for people to, if they're interested in avoiding their car being broken into. What it involves is a portable motion detector which you put in the car. If the car is opened and the car alarm is deactivated, which is what happens, it doesn't deactivate this device. It does not require any wiring into the car, so it's portable. So if you change your car, you just change it and move it.
It's a secondary alarm in
It's
the
a
car?
secondary alarm, and the way that it works is it does two things. You can either have it sound a siren so that the thieves know that they've been detected, or you can do it silently, and it will send a message to 2 telephones to alert you that the detector has detected a break-in.
Yeah,
The
have
badge-
you used this yet?
Sorry?
Have you used this item yet?
I have not, but I am involved in security applications, and in fact, I'm working with the leading security companies: Bosch, Pelco, Sony, just a few of the people that I'm working with. As I said, I've researched the issue, and the problem with a lot of, I've spoken to alarm companies, and they can't offer anything other than something that's wired in. This is a battery operated, and according to the information that I have researched and brought the form along for people who are interested, the batteries will last a year. So when you go to get in your car, it's a bit like a house alarm. You have a certain length of time before it's activated.
So is this a product on the market now?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's well proven.
Okay, so you're sharing this information with stakeholders who may be
Yeah.
interested?
Correct.
Okay, and do you have multiple copies of the
Yes, I
paper?
do. If anybody wants, I just printed out a few.
Okay. Is this something anyone's familiar with, or?
Have to see it first. How do you disable it when you get out your car?
Same way you disable a house alarm. It works the same way. In other words, when you get in the car, you've got to like 30 seconds to disable it. When you when you want to get out of the car and you want it enabled, you just simply arm it again, just like a house. It's not. How can I put it? Technically, you say you want to see it. Well, of course, you're obviously from Missouri, but let me tell you that I have actively investigated this system. It's sold throughout the world. It's not something that is rinky-dink, only available.
It sounds interesting. I'd like to look myself. I have to move on. Any other public comments? Michael, last night you were telling me something and you didn't have a chance to share it at the meeting. Could you share that, what you've been working on?
Yeah, since January, we've been working on trying to get these perimeter locks on the carts, because obviously we have so many homeless people who are pushing around the carts loaded with trash, feces, their luggage, whatever it is. So we thought we'd try to approach Ralph's at Ventura and Vineland as a tester to come up with these perimeter locks, which I first saw in Oklahoma, which worked effectively because it stopped me in my tracks pushing it. And come to find out, it was actually Heather who let me know on Nextdoor that they finally are putting them in there. So I did write Ralph's. If that's going to be successful in the next 3 weeks, I've already approached Vaughn's at Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. But with the new marshals going in as well, there's laws in effect that we can have them install perimeter locks. So hopefully that'll cut down on the trash and the dispersion of it.
So it looks like Ralph's is on board with this?
It looks like Ralph's in the whole complex.
On the Vineland?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Vineland Ventura.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Smart and Final, Harris. Smart and Final.
Smart and Final?
Yeah, have had these for years,
I mean,
and they work.
Vineland.
You go to the car
Yep.
park and suddenly
They do.
it starts. So it's not something new.
Oh, it's definitely not new, but we just don't have it in Studio City, and the carts are getting out of hand.
Correct.
Yeah, and Michael's been personally, on his free time, looking into the matter.
But I just thought I'd tell you that Smart and Final have had them
Right.
for years, so it's a
Good.
proven.
It's a great thing. Any other public comments? Okay. Patty or Marcia, do you have any comments to make at this time?
No.
Committee members. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna have Lance and Ron from C-PAB speak to us, followed by Officer Smith who will speak, and then it looks like we'll be able to get a little tour of the police station, so that's great news. So right now, I'm going to bring up Lance and Ron from CPAB and explain why you're here and how we can help and map out a plan for us.
Craig, could you just let everybody know that they should come back because we do have another.
Oh, yeah,
guest.
absolutely. And then after the walkthrough, Patty, could you introduce who? We also have a special guest.
Lori Powell from PSR.
I'm a PSR. I'm a 911 dispatcher for LAPD.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
That's something one of our committee members,
Yeah.
Marcia, has been
Yeah.
asking and asking
Yeah,
for,
wonderful.
and spoke to Patty and made it happen. So nice job, Marcia, and Patty, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Great.
CPAB. CPAB stands for Community Police Advisory Board. We have two major objectives. Objective number one is to be a communication conduit from the public to the police, and then from the police back to the public. And I won't spend a lot of time on that tonight because that's not what we want to hit on, but we do have various committees to help understand what some of the public issues are. We do outreaches, which we just did with Craig and his group, so thank you for that. And we do that on a monthly basis throughout the North Hollywood area. Our second objective of CPAB is we want to make LA, or specifically for us, North Hollywood. When I say North Hollywood, that's North Hollywood, Studio City, Valley Village, and Toluca Lake. That's what the area that we're responsible for. We want to make North Hollywood a safer and better place to live. One of the ways that we realize we can do that is influencing our congressmen, or local, county, and state legislators. And we just started to do that. And one of the first initiatives we had was to try to get more funding for LAPD civilians, because what's happening, back in 2008, 2009, we lost a lot of civilians during the Great Recession. We went from 21 to 14. Well, to make up that gap of 7 civilians, they had to use officers, take them out of the field, and put them into administrative jobs. Well, you can imagine what happens with crime when you take the officers out, it goes up. And an officer costs about $100,000 to $120,000. A civilian costs about $40,000, so it just doesn't make any sense. So Lance and our legislative committee, we been going to the different city council members like Rue and Krikorian, and in the last budget they did increase it, and we are getting more civilians back.
And we got a letter, I got a letter that was drafted by the CPAB organization that then I shared out with an email blast and was put on Nextdoor, and Krikorian and Rue's office was inundated.
Terrific. Yeah.
And
that's
I think
right.
it helped.
Say the least.
Yeah,
And
they
and
sent
Craig,
it.
thank you. That's
Thank you,
exactly
everyone.
what we want to
Yeah.
accomplish today. Is I'm going to give you 3 or 4 or 5 different things that we're working on. There's many more we could be, but I'm just going to give these as examples. And the way you influence legislators, the city council or the supervisors or state, is a lot of letters. They see the population wants it, that's what's going to influence it. So we need your help. I mean, we're one focal point. We have a lot of reach, but you have tremendous reach. So together, collectively, we can really make some changes. About 2 weeks ago, I think, we did a bus tour with representatives from the city council members, our CPAB, and we went through all of North Hollywood, and each senior lead officer talked about their area, and we saw just immense amount of homelessness, which I'm sure that doesn't surprise any of you in here. But it's even far worse than I ever saw, because the senior leads know exactly where to point it out. We saw RVs parked, and they have what they call green zones. And after 72 hours, they can tag them. If they don't move, they can tow them away. But guess what? There's no tow company that will tow them away, because they're just cesspools and they're biohazards, and they won't touch it. We were pointed out apartments or places that have been they got a demolishing permit, and now the vagrants know until this thing is actually demolished, they can live in it free. And so you got all these demolished, well, not yet demolished. And it's a real easy solution. You just put a time limit when you get a demolished permit that it either has got to be demolished or you're required to get a construction permit with your demolished permit. So there's a short time frame between demolishment and construction. There was 8 fatalities in Shawn, I think that's correct. This might be a no, there was 8 fatalities that we've had just in North Hollywood, and these fatalities are accident fatalities, speeding fatalities. And this is kind of interesting to know. Like if you're going up Laurel Canyon, they can't give you a ticket today. Why? Because they have the DOT study of what the average traffic flow is over 2 years old, and so they need to do a new one. So right now it's a free-for-all. There's a lot of places within the city that's happening, and that's because we need to get DOT to do it. I can go, so homelessness, getting money for the police, there's a lot of things that we want to work on, and we need your support and your voice to make it happen. And together we can do it. Like we have a meeting next week with Paul Krikorian, Councilmember Krikorian, and we're going to bring up all these. But ideally, before we even get there, we do a letter campaign, because that will influence it. So working together, that's what we want to do. Lance, you want to add anything?
I think the only other thing to add is there's strength in numbers, and I think that's one of the reasons you all are here. So as you get informed about the issues, it makes you more worldly. It also helps when you're doing whatever advocacy you do. I'm assuming you talk to other neighbors and you share information. It's really important. One of the things that we noticed when we were talking to the city council, there were a few of us there. And one of the pieces of feedback we got is it would be nice if there was a broader representation of the community there. So in addition to having the letters, it's important to have some interested parties, and we can get you up to speed if you're interested in joining us and helping us, get you up to speed with the issues, and make sure that you put your own personal flair to it. So what this means to you specifically, I heard from Patty about a homeless person that's been living between her house for 20 years. And so that's a sad but a good story to tell. You know, the other thing that Ron mentioned that I think is especially troubling, so he talked about the RVs that are parked in these green zones. The officers cannot do anything with that vehicle to contact the person inside if they don't answer the door. So they can go up to the vehicle, they can knock on the door, and of course the people who are living in there know this, and you can see they're in there, they don't answer the door, and guess what happens? Nothing. So there's a number of these, you listen to this and you say this is ludicrous. And you look at some of the issues with some of the bond measures and some of the other things with funding of the city and where the dollars are being placed. And looking at more logical things. I mean, obviously where we want to see the boots on the street is with LAPD. And some of the frivolous things that are passed, whether they're studies or regulations that are being passed that cause city resources to be used in a frivolous way, we need to speak up about that. And most people are not even aware the issues exist.
So next week, you have a meeting next week with Councilman Krikorian.
We do.
You're gonna have 5 bullets of,
We have what's called a one sheet.
okay, so if you'd like our help, you can send it to me. Everyone will have a sign-up sheet tonight that'll go around and the list gets
Terrific.
bigger. And if this is a topic that resonates with the folks in this room, they will hopefully send that form letter or tweak it in their own
Terrific.
way.
And also with that, if there's any feedback that you have, any particular story to share that we can get back through Craig. So if there's another version of Patty's situation where somebody is squatting, or there's been repeated break-ins in this house, or this is a crack house, or there's prostitution, or whatever it is, so that we can, in a number of these instances, it gets lost in the noise because there's so much of it. But when you can personalize it to people and say, this is a specific address, it's a specific business, it's a specific location, and there's repeated incidents there, that gets the attention of these folks. It's not a random, act of violence or a crime. This is habitual, and something needs to be done about it.
Well, let me just say one thing about homeless. Homeless cannot be solved by the LAPD. They only can enforce the law. It's got to be solved with legislation. And there was actually I have it written down here. It was a case, 5611 Municipal Code, that went all the way to the 9th Circuit. And basically what they said was homeless people's personal supersedes property. Because before they could write tickets if somebody slept on public property. It was called vagrancy. Well, today, thanks to the Ninth Circuit Court, they can sleep wherever they want between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. It's not a crime to be homeless, but there are a lot of shelters, there are a lot of places they could go, but most of them choose to just live in the street.
Is there anything on the patrols getting greater? I know the budgets have, the budgets for the next year has just passed. What can we do in that area? Do you have a plan or?
So the budget is on a fiscal basis. The budget was just approved. I think it's the perfect time to start baiting the hook for the next budget committee.
Okay.
And so any ideas that you have in terms of resources, but I did want to go back to what Ron mentioned about the people that can sleep and squat wherever they like. There was an article in today's LA News, LA Daily News, and you can look at it online. I sent a copy of it to Ron earlier today. We have gone from one extreme to the other. So what happened, I don't know how many years ago it wasn't that long ago, where LAPD was actually able to enforce, and it was not legal to be sleeping on the street and to have your things on the street, and it was very restrictive. And so there was a lawsuit. There was a lawsuit, and the lawsuit said, this is absolutely ludicrous. You cannot do this. So the City Council of Los Angeles went to the other extreme where they could have modulated and said, okay, we get that. Let us loosen a few of these things up, but still keep some restrictions, and went completely the other way and said, fine, you can do whatever you want. You can just be there. And the article pointed out today, it does not need to be that way. I didn't know that. I'm not sure if you knew that until I read it today. And it's a shining example of what's going on about things that we have no idea about. And each one of us is paying the price for this now.
Yeah.
And it's easily fixable. You just need a vote of the council that will make a resolution that will change that. And you start to tighten it up, and you give our LAPD some teeth in what they're doing so that they can improve the quality of life for us.
So your organization, your organization helps to recommend legislation changes,
Yes,
right, like this?
correct.
And does that also include with the issue of homelessness? I heard at one of the last meetings I attended that there is in law that officers, if they arrest a homeless person or need to move them, they have to itemize all of their belongings and they have to be put to a storage facility. So is that something that we can, is that something that, we say that,
And that takes the officer 3-4 hours by the
Well,
time you.
more than that. We actually, I'll tell you the truth, we won't do it.
Yeah.
So you have 3 shopping carts full of stuff. You're talking about hazmat material inside there. You have to be special trained to deal with hazmat. Officers are not special trained to deal with certain hazmat stuff. And we have no facility to store that stuff. So we don't have like the shopping cart truck that comes get this loaded shopping cart.
Right.
And so to itemize everything like that would take 3 or 4 days. Officers, 2 officers, 3 or 4 days. And then the officer's chance of getting scabies, all this other stuff is huge. So an officer can pick or choose if they're gonna do that, and I'll tell you that from an officer for 20 years, I'm not gonna do that, so it's one of those things where like, that stuff is trash to most of us, it's their belongings, and I respect them for that, but it's a whole huge can of worms that you're opening up. We have a detail that's helping out with that, and I'll explain that when I go up there.
That's great.
So-
Because
so one of the
I didn't know that, and when I
Exactly.
heard of it, and I thought, there's so many, I think all in the purposes of trying to be good humans, we put
Yes.
things in place that are actually holding things back for
Right.
our,
That's exactly the point.
for our community.
There's another issue related to homeless people when they're taken to an emergency center. And we know this particularly from LAFD, other work that Ron and I do. If a homeless person is taken to an emergency room and they can't be seen for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, or there's an evaluation that takes that long, guess what the person that brought them there has to do?
Which is the LAFD.
They have to sit there and wait. And so when you have fires and there are other emergencies, that person is sitting in an emergency room twiddling their thumbs doing nothing, and they can't leave by law. So these are just examples of things.
So there's a lot of legislation we can hopefully effectuate to make LA a better and safer place
Okay.
to live.
A couple of comments. As I said, as I have commented in past meetings for my committee, our committee, I think that one of the goals we should have is shifting the focus of intervention from police, because this is not a policing issue, to county health, because this is a public health catastrophe, okay? And number 2, does anyone know why the population has surged 23% this year?
It was in the news today, too.
Yeah. Does
And
anyone know
there's a
why?
lot. Cost of housing, jobs, drugs. AB, are you guys familiar with AB 109 and Proposition 4757? real quickly, our jails were overcrowded, and we were mandated by Supreme Court to go from, I might be a little bit off the numbers, from 150,000 to about 110. And they took supposedly the less dangerous criminals, with mostly drug related, and let them out. That's number one. Number two is now the officers, they can fill them up real quick again, and they decriminalized, in a sense, of from felonies to misdemeanors, just about all drug-related, whether you possess heroin or whatever it is. And now, if Officer Smith arrests somebody for drug possession, within 2-3 days they'll be out in the street again. So there's no real, it's a revolving door. The same thing with burglary for motor vehicles, which it's a crime of convenience. You leave your cell phone, they're going to break your window because this is worth $100, and you're going to have probably a $500 window to replace, and you lost your cell phone. Officer Smith sees that guy, arrests him. How long does he be in jail? 2-3 days?
1 day.
1 day?
Yeah. So part of the problem is the new laws, and we didn't really understand the repercussions. The money supposedly that was going to be saved from having all these prisoners in jail was supposed to go in rehabilitation, but it's not.
So you're gonna focus on city, and there'll be times like this, state issues, correct?
It's a city issue. It's a
The jails
Studio
you're talking
City.
about.
I know it's a Studio City issue, but it was the AB 109 Proposition 4757. We're state, so we got to go to the state.
The young lady back here has a question.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I had 3 cars towed from in front of my house because there's something going on where either they're selling them or they're trash cars or whatever, and that it takes forever to get them towed.
Oh, you know, ma'am, their answers, when I get up there, I'll answer that stuff for you, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. So I know our time's probably up. Let me just summarize. CPAB, and by the way, Patty Kirby, who's on the Neighborhood Council, is also on CPAB, and she chairs a very important committee and does a lot of work on neighborhood watch and emergency preparedness. And she's in the process of trying to get all of North Hollywood to develop neighborhood watches, because that helps reduce crime. So thanks, Patty. So we do outreach and neighborhood watch, emergency preparedness, legislation, communication. Anyone interested, you can contact me, or you can give Craig your name. My email is just my name, Ron, R-O-N, Dresher, D-R-E-S-H-E-R, @gmail.com. And I'm co-chair of it. Lance heads up the outreach. We are going to be taking a very proactive with our legislators. We need your support, because that's the only way we're going to make some changes, because homelessness is not going to go away, and it can't be resolved by the police.
It's not.
I
mean, if you
currently have the police sending us messages into next door. And it would be nice if your organization could also be fed into next door for the whole area. I mean, I just.
You're about CPAB in general?
Yeah.
Who would we give that to?
You have to contact next door and ask them that you're an organization and make the request. It's
Yeah,
I've been working on
Patty's
that.
involved.
but for now,
But it's so.
give it to me, I can put it on next door, and I'll get the information.
I'm going to introduce
Thank you.
our senior lead officer from Studio City. I was fortunate to be on the oral boards, the oral for this, and he had tremendous competition. And by far, we got the best senior lead. I mean, he's knowledgeable.
Everybody else called in sick, so.
He's knowledgeable. He was a standout, and we had some really great competition. But you know, we're lucky, and I'm proud that we got.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, it's great.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shawn Smith. I've been an LAPD officer for 20 years. I've been in this division, North Hollywood division, for 19 years. So as soon as I got on probation, I came here. We call it off the wheel. I came here, I wheeled here, and I never left. I'm not a grass is green on the other side type of person. So I order the same thing at restaurants, and I like it. And this is a great place to live. anywhere in the division. I love it here. I live 50 miles away from here, and I wanted to be an LAPD cop since I was 5 years old, and I'm living my dream, and it's fantastic. So, anyways, a little bit about the division. The division has changed a lot. When I first came here in 1998, basically everything, I would say certain parts around Magnolia, but mostly from Burbank on was our more violent areas, and we still have some of those pockets. Lankershim and Burbank, right around the red line. We have a lot of violence around there. Magnolia, between Violent and Cahuenga, historically been one of our most violent areas. It's because we have a mixture of things going on, drugs, gangs, and everything. Then we have our what people call gangs, mostly in the north end of our division, towards Violent, Sherman Way, stuff like that. We used to have a lot more gangs, a lot more. It was a lot of fun as a young cop when I first came here. Not fun for your citizens, but fun for me. We'd have shootings, stabbings, and stuff like that went through the roof. There was no Facebook back then. There was no social media. And be honest with you, the news didn't care too much about it. So the news would not be there for a gang shooting or gang, because it just was a normal thing for LA. So everybody asked me, well, the crime problem's going through the roof, and no, it's really not. And LAPD has done a historically awful job in advertising itself. And for example, like 2010, the crime in this city was lower than it was for your grandparents in the 40s. Lower.
Wow.
And nobody knows that. It was safer to walk around here than
Yeah.
it was in the 40s. And numbers don't lie. So, and that's exactly what it is. And so you know about our numbers, FBI takes a look at our numbers every year. And if we're fudging on a number, or they think we're fudging on a number, they nail LAPD for it. So I'm telling you, those numbers are true. And from 1998, from when I got here, it was getting boring. I worked nothing but the streets the whole time. I worked plain clothes. I've been shot at in this division. I've had my teeth broken. I've had broken bones. Everything you imagine, I've had it in this division here. And so it's full of everything. And those are from regular people that are just intoxicated that day to gangsters shooting at me. But this division is a great place. And things are getting a little bit more violent. And a lot of it, my personal opinion, is some of these laws passed and these people come out. So like he's talking about Prop 47. Prop 47 was, this is not my political stance or anything, I'm just telling you the facts of the matter. It came out saying this non-violent criminals coming out. That's what we were told to by the heads of the state. And what it was their last crime. So if you committed an aggravated rape and you're on parole, and then you're on parole, basically you're under restrictions. Your parents put you on restrictions, you're told not to do something again. That's what parole and probation is. When you were out on parole, you decide to get back on heroin. You're shooting up heroin. Heroin users, for 99% of them, do not have jobs. They break into our cars, they break into our houses to support or they sell to provide their heroin. Those person would get caught with heroin, maybe enough for sales or maybe just personal use. Their parole would be violated. So let's say they got originally sentenced to 20 years on their rape term. They did 6 or 7 of those. They got out on parole. They got reinstated on their 20 years. The state legislature sold it to everybody that these people are going to prison for 20 years for dope. And didn't tell them, no, they're going back for the original rape. They were given a chance and they burned their chances. And that's what's going on. That's what's going on in the state. People say to the cops, what are you guys doing about it? I say, no, what are you doing about it? I know I didn't vote for this stuff. I definitely did not. I do not want to see these people back out again. And I'm a cop driving from 50 miles. I do all this work, and I put somebody in jail for something, and they're out the next day. I see them walking around. I sometimes think, did they escape? How come I have seen this person again? And for instance, I caught a guy who did 14 residential burglaries. Each one of those used to be a felony strike. During the Reagan time, strike 3, you're out type of stuff came through. That's when one of our crime rates dove down so much because it was working so good. However, so I got him 14, 9 of them on DNA. This was back when I was working plain clothes, following people around with detectives. I had him on fingerprints, and he copped out. Basically, he said he did these stuff. He got sentenced to 18 months only. He was out in 41 days. So those are the crimes we know about. Does crime pay? Absolutely it does. It absolutely does. So how much good stuff did he get from you all? A lot of good stuff. And 41 days he goes in there. We fix his teeth for him when he's in jail. He has all the, I don't know who has medical insurance, which is great right now. We're all talking about it on the news, right? But you guys get generic drugs, most of you. They don't prison. They get the best stuff. the best stuff. And if all of a sudden they decide, why I'm in there, I just decide I want to change from being a man to a female to a man, they'll pay for it too. Like, and out here, if you want to pay for that stuff, that's great. I love being in LA. I like the different people. It's awesome. But you shouldn't maybe have those choices when you're in prison, you know? And we're all paying for that type of stuff. And so just be very aware of it, you know? Be very aware of our system. And sometimes when they go, we're just going to build more prisons to house people, well, our population is tripled. So our prison system might need to triple, you know, because you know, that's my personal opinion about it. So like we have to keep up with everything, you know, like our freeways need to keep up with our population, our buildings need to keep up with population, and that might include a prison or a jail here and there.
Yeah.
So that's just my personal opinion on it. But I'm going to open it up, you know, real quick. I'll talk about that home invasion. There's an 84-year-old female victim there. We had 2 suspects come in, typical knock-knock burglar style, where they knock on the door, nobody answers, they go around back, they broke a window, they come on in. She did not hear them until they were confronted in the house. They did not set off to do a home invasion, I believe. Home invasion typically means I'm going to go in there and take over the family, usually mom and dad or jewelry store owners. They own the liquor store. We know they store money at the house. Those are the common home invasions, or they're drug dealers there. So it was a home invasion because it happens she was there. The poor lady was assaulted while in there. She was hurt, put in the hospital, and they made off with about $50,000 worth of jewelry and about $5,000 worth of cash.
And it sounds like they knew what was in there.
They didn't know, but they were in there for 45 minutes. And for 45 minutes in somebody's house, you can find anything you want to. So I just let you know, and what's troubling to me is it happened up in the nice area. Everybody knows these nice areas. And I don't live in such an, I mean, my area is nice. I live in Rancho Cucamonga. It's nice, but it's not $1 million homes. But I drive down this $1 million home neighborhood, and I have to go 30 houses before I find a house with a camera system. And these are the same people putting $100,000 and $200,000 kitchens in, but say that they complaining about throwing a camera system up there. And to me, it's super shocking. Like I will not get more officers out in the field anytime soon, and I'll tell you that it's not going to happen. As far as like the numbers we need, we just had 10% of our work crew that was doing admin stuff. Our captain's putting back out in the street, which is great. However, crime goes up in the summer. They're going to be handling violent crimes. They're going to be handling other things. So having these small neighborhood watches like Patty puts on and I put on, we get them going, that's what's going to really help us. Knowing, hey, down the street, Bob has a camera, and so does Susie down here, you know? And when we can, we all get cameras again. And your camera needs to have, your best camera needs to face the street, getting license plates, so we can see who's in the car. Or if it's a bicycle, hey, you know, that guy was in a blue and white mountain bike riding down the street. If you do not want to get camera systems and you keep doing expensive stuff to your house, expect negative results sometimes when a police does an investigation, because we can't help you now. Nowadays too, everybody sees CSI, so we take somebody to court. They want, you know, where's your DNA here? You know, where's your video of this person here? That's what you all, when you sit on juries, you all want that. And so if as cops we come there with not having that, you all said, well, of course it can happen. I mean, they take pictures of fingerprints on TV, and 2 hours later they know who the person is. Well, I can tell you right now, LAPD, we get fingerprints at a scene. Let's say your house gets broken into. There's no rush on that, right? Because rush goes to homicides and rapes. And so a rush on a homicide and rape, it takes about a month to get that right back. Every division is allowed 2 rushes per month. 2. That's it. Unless it's a special circumstance, I'm talking like a whole family is dead. You know what I'm saying? That's no joke. So on the regular prints, that'll come back. It takes 6-7 months. The detective already has a stack like this. He has to now double check where that person was. Does that person know these families back and forth? It's nothing like everybody thinks. So by the time like a guy like me, when I was working following these people around to get it, the crime had already occurred a year ago. And I'd go find this person down in Orange County, hook them up. Now they're living a good life. They're working, got a job. Sorry, buddy, you know, you're going to jail now. And so that's how things work. They're very slow. So where does money need to be spent? Like they were all saying, money needs to be spent in civilian workers. We need more civilian workers, a lot more. We have cops doing jobs that they shouldn't be doing, if you ask my opinion. We could have, like on the front desk, you see those 2 officers at the front desk right there? Those both are training officers. Both fantastic cops. We don't have anybody else working the desk right now. If we had 2 clerk typists that type 50 words a minute there that are making half the money these ones, and maybe 1 senior person about ready to retire telling them what report to take, the line would go a lot faster because these guys never how to type, so, but that's the stuff I think we need. If you guys are gonna vote for stuff or push towards your legislature, what LAPD needs, that's what we need. We have 9,500 officers, and for some reason, they're not all out in the field. We have very low amount in the field, and historically, Studio City, North Hollywood in general, has been given the least amount of officers of any patrol division. And we are number 2 in property crime in the city almost all the time. So I'm just facts. The facts are what they are. So if you want to talk to somebody, my captain can't change anything, the deputy chief can't change anything, it's higher up than him. So whoever you think higher up is. So that's the stuff you gotta change. I'm gonna open up to any questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you speak about the Woodbridge area?
Thank you.
Yes.
The robbery, no, that's an unfortunate incident. That stuff like that, street robbery at the middle of the night like that, especially in a neighborhood like that, is very, very uncommon there. It's different on Ventura Boulevard. Maybe someone comes out of a bar or something like that, but right there, it's very uncommon. Again, people say, "Oh, you guys have video of it." There is a video. It's very poor video. It shows a white Ford truck. That's all
They came back the next. I live in the building.
Right.
So they came back.
Which is, I'll tell you the truth, which is 99.9% chance it never happens. I mean, I've been a cop 20 years. It's such a rarity that it happens. The poor lady had her car stolen the next day after being robbed at gunpoint the day before. Super, super unfortunate. But
Did you catch the guys that did it?
no. And again, like stuff that happens is, do we have good video? Do we have prints? Do we have a good eyewitness? And no, we don't. So it even for the guy who originally committed the crime, the description is not the best. I'll be honest with you. It's so that's what we have to deal with. And you want to commit a homicide and get away with it. It's possible to do that, even in still these day and age. Like who's around? What witnesses do you have? Do we have cameras? And that's why I tell you, these are nicer neighborhoods, even nicer apartments down there. And it's inconceivable to me that why they don't have some camera systems around. Now, these couple was walking out in the street. They weren't doing anything wrong, minding their own business. And it was, like I said, it was a rare thing that happened there.
Does your building have security?
I see a camera in the. I assume they came in through the lobby and then went down to the garage.
I assume
and
so.
I've seen a camera in the lobby.
But sometimes, I'll be honest with you, people leave, they don't care, and I've seen it because I've been doing surveillance on things. They'll come out, they don't see anybody coming in, and the person I was looking at was right in the open garage.
Yeah.
Cops can't patrol that, we don't go into there, we can't see into there. You can now rummage through 10 cars if you want to, and then leave. And then lots of times we see people, there'll be maybe a camera inside the garage, which is okay, but like if we don't see what car they came in, which way they came, it's nice to get the picture of the person. But if you say, hey, look at this white guy with a goatee, yep, he looks like that, but like it's very hard to still find that person. If it was a casino with the different eye, we could tell who this person was. They have great programs for that. We don't have that.
So you're saying that Studio City is number 2 in property crime?
That's Studio City, North Hollywood.
Okay.
So North Hollywood, it goes back and forth. So it's not like rate this instant, and don't quote me on that, but we have gone back and forth from being leading number 2 in the city out of 21 divisions, having that. So I'm just, what ends up happening is like 2 gang members will get shot in Rampart Division or South Central, and they'll send tons of officers down there. Right? And rarely in those shootings, and it does happen, but most of the time it's gang members killing gang members, and which is unfortunate. That's got to stop. But it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be enough resources up here either. That's what I'm just saying. And imagine this: you're an officer like me. I was a training officer for 12 years. I'm with somebody who's 21 years old, 22, whose real estate job wasn't going good, and all of a sudden I'm going to be a cop. This is the person working with me, right? Instead of me being 5 years old, want to be a cop my whole life. Never been hit in the face before, never been in a fight before. And I know that's weird for me to say that to you folks, but that stuff can happen when you're a cop. You're going up to these areas, and there's 5 or 6 patrol officers that day. 2 of them are in jail for something. 1's investigating a rape. Now there's 3 units. We go from Mulholland, clear up to Strathern, to Burbank, and basically follow the wash to Van Nuys, right? You're getting into a fight with somebody, you call for backup. If anybody wants more cops out there, it's the cops. And you guys are secondary one. Trust me, we want them way more than you want them, and we're begging for them. But they listen to you a lot more. And what I'm saying, is your legislatures. That's the ones you need to go to. And writing letters is awesome because there might be my captain says there might be a check in there, right? So it's great. Writing
notice.
a physical letter, not an email, not a phone call, a physical letter where you're writing in the front, where they don't know who it is, not a stamp thing where they can open it up. And you guys all deserve good resources here. And I don't care what it's from. And then the young lady in the back, she was asking me about a car being in her front. And I just let you know, it's knowing what resources it is. That's not LEPD's responsibility. I'll let you know that, okay? That's Department of Transportation. So everybody who calls for any problem, they call LAPD. There's a dead dog in my front yard. Yeah, that's a dead dog, you know, you're right, but like, that's not our responsibility, you know, and.
Don't send on that.
No, but I'm just saying is what we'll hear it all the time, and if she'll talk about the stuff they call upon, you can ask her, they call about everything. And it's just knowing, you know, what you call and knowing the resources, and your friends will tell you, hey, I have this issue, and you can tell them, hey, you need to call Department of Sanitation. We need to call that, and if they're not responding well to you, for Corian's office, he's a great person. He's actually a real nice person. He wants to help. He's just, but let him know, hey, I got this issue. Email them, and that's the best way. They'll get it. If I say, hey, to them, if I tell them, hey, I call sanitation, there's a dump there. Okay, Officer Smith, they don't care. But if the councilman's office calls, they get it taken care of real fast. So, yes, ma'am.
I called the Department of Transportation, that I know that what you're talking about. They're just in the same boat you are, because there's more important things than to come out and mark a car. I've also gone to the Corian's office, and it took it took a blind therapy dog and myself and a neighbor to go there to get them to come and tow their car.
Right, and you know that's the city we're dealing with. The city's coming out of a recession, and a lot of money was not being spent on hiring people. I don't care where you're at. We weren't hiring a lot of people.
I have a question about, you're talking about cameras. So I know there's been a big, we got a Ring doorbell. I know a lot of people have Ring doorbells, and I saw it has a function where you can have a city view, like so you can see what's going on with other neighbors. But I joined it. There's only 4 other houses in Studio City that are posting. But is that something where like we can promote that, or is that a resource that the
LAPD and the city are not allowed to take a stance on any company, so I can't say Ring is good or this is it.
Sure.
You know, I'll tell you myself, I have Ring at home.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, Shawn Smith has Ring at home.
Yeah.
But I also.
But is there a way that if we could create a community that uses that to share videos?
They do, like Nextdoor.com is a lot of people will now say, this is the person I saw. They posted on Nextdoor.com. That's the way to do it. And I tell you, Nextdoor.
And the neighborhood watch.
Yeah, the neighborhood watch. So like, what Patty will explain is, so like you have 10 houses, you live in a cul-de-sac, maybe 10 houses there. And Nextdoor.com is great, but it's not as good as having your small neighborhood where you know everybody. Like Craig and I are neighbors, and Craig says, hey Shawn, did you see that black American down the street? That doesn't belong to anybody, right? That Southern California is awful for knowing your neighbors, right? Everybody knows that, right? So I know that guy's lived there for 10 years. What's his name? I don't know. That's embarrassing. You know, that's embarrassing. My sister lives in Kentucky. Everybody knows everybody, and but that's this thing we're trying to get. Like the small Studio City's like known as a small town vibe to it, and that's what's cool about it. Still, everybody's real cool and stuff, but knowing that neighborhood and say, hey, let's have a barbecue this summer. And get everybody together, and hey, you know, we'll come down, we'll talk to you all about setting stuff up, and then having like 10 emails. There's Nextdoor.com, but having these 10 email loop that we're saying, we saw this happen. Did anybody know this car's been parked here? Oh no, that's my aunt from Pennsylvania visiting. Oh, okay, you know, little stuff like that is perfect to have. And if you don't have that small neighborhood watch, I'm really asking you to do that. I'm really asking you, and then like, who's at the front part of the neighborhood in the back? Maybe everybody can chip in and get those people cameras. Because see the cars that are coming and going. You know, we can start off from there and move on. That's just a little, you know, something else. Yes, sir.
I live on St. Clair and
Yes.
Valley Spring, and every July the 4th they have a parade walking round. And
Yes.
Are you aware of it?
I'll be there.
Okay. But you were talking about that it isn't, people don't know their neighbours. That's very, very true. I've lived here for nearly 40 years, and I can attest that is the problem. People want to keep to themselves, although funnily enough, this March, you would think that would increase the neighborhood.
But you know, the problem is that that's a one-time-a-year event.
That's right.
Instead of saying, okay, then now what are we going to do during winter break time? You know what I mean?
No,
are we going to exchange cookies with each other? And then also, by the way, you know, talk about little stuff. And it's reaching out more than once a year and knowing the new neighbors and stuff, inviting the young neighbors. Yes, sir.
Well, if you want to install a video, for instance, you can't recommend one, but can you recommend a resource where we could figure out what the optimal one is for us?
I'll tell you, that, for me, it's like I have a half-acre property, and I have chickens. I kind of grew up like my trash. I love that stuff. That's where I grew up, and I like being out there with my chickens. And so like I have a camera looking at my chickens. That's not the best camera I have, but I bought a system where you can add different quality of cameras to it. So your DVR is the most important thing for it. That's what stores it, right? And then you can add different quality cameras. So I have a super high-end camera, 2 of them, because I'm on a corner lot, where I can see license plates. 2 days after I installed it, my neighbor, who's, bless his soul, he's a great guy, but his friends are just kooky, hits my mailbox, knocks my mailbox down. And the guy takes off. And my neighbor's out there looking and goes back to the house. Nobody talks to me. I'm like, thank God I installed this thing. I look as a license plate, I went, hey man, your buddy just hit in my mailbox. Oh, did he? Yeah, you were out there. And he goes, oh, yeah. And I told him, I said, I don't want to call the cops or anything, but I know you guys weld all day, better weld this together. And I was cool about it, they fixed it. But I got his license plate from the thing instantly, because my camera was just so good. And so like I go to places to go, I have cameras, and the footage is awful. Awful. So if you're gonna have good cameras, at least get a very good camera looking at the street view, please. At an angle so they get a license plate, not straight out to the street, at an angle to get a license plate passing by, and hopefully see what the person looks like driving. And then, the one at your front door. And then everything else you can work. And I tell a lot of people, the best thing you can have in your house, the best thing for home security is a big dog. And a lot of people don't want big dogs, but I'll tell you as a cop for years, a big dog is the best thing you can get. Yeah. People do not want to get bit. And people hear your small dog, they'll still come in. The small dog's good when you're home, they'll alert you, but it won't stop an intruder coming in. I've had lots of times with a small dog, yeah, look at Cookie was here the whole time. Yeah, Cookie was here, But like, and which is a great thing. I like small dogs too. But I leave my house, I've worked graveyard for 10 years. I leave my house with 2 huge dogs. And and then like stuff to protect my family. Bear mace is a big thing. I don't know if you folks know about bear mace. It's a fantastic thing. Dog the Bounty Hunter. Anybody see that show? Yeah. He carries this big, huge bear mace, and bear mace shoots a 30-foot cone, and it stops a charging grizzly bear. Right? So it's $40. And if your kids spray each other with it, like all kids are idiots, they'll do that sometimes, and it'll hurt, but it won't hurt them permanently. It'll burn their face, but not like burn marks on them, and they'll never do it again. And but you know that for a fact that nobody's going to get accidentally shot or anything like that. And if you do get a gun, go through a gun safety course, please, and make sure it's locked up at all times. But the bear mace is awesome. I have a 16-year-old, 14-year-old. My wife and I go out to dinner, leave them alone. And I know that my son has something there at home. It makes us feel good. And then I have a camera that I can see on my phone saying, drag your sister in front of the camera, make sure I know she's alive. Okay, you know what I mean? And then we can stay out another hour. So, but little stuff like that is peace of mind, and that's just some suggestions. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, so if you do have a gun, is it effective to post a sign outside your house someplace that says a gun owner lives here?
No, I wouldn't do that, and that's just me personally around here especially. Around here you can have a lot of people in opposition of guns and all that stuff. It's a different environment around here than it is where I live. Where I live, it's a lot different than here.
So just talk about here.
I would say this is, there's nothing wrong with having guns. I grew up with guns. I don't promote guns to anybody because it's a personal choice, and it's just like religion. I don't talk about that either. It's what you feel personally about it. But I can tell you this much is that every gun that I have is locked up at all times, and I have a gun for my wife that has a 4-finger thing that she can pop open super quick. It's bolted to the ground. My kids can't get to it, and she's armed herself twice now in 20 years. Because something was going on, and luckily she never had to use it or anything like that. But now my wife likes that bear mace. She has that bear mace, and she takes that with her everywhere. And she has a smaller one for her purse. And if you're a lady out there, please get one. If you all of a sudden you forget, I forgot to get gas, 10 o'clock at night, get gas, put that thing in your purse. The cops are not going to care that a woman's out there with bear mace. What they care about is the idiot crawling over your fence that has bear mace on them. Okay, so please try to do something. Yes.
Where do you buy it?
Big 5 has the big cans of it, and I don't have stock in Big 5, but I tell people that all the time. Okay. Amazon.com sells everything.
Oh, okay.
They sell you everything.
They won't send it to homes.
No, I got it at Amazon.
No, Amazon.
But my question was this: to put a sign outside your house that says do not trespass?
But there is certain suspects, like the knock-knock burglars, most of them are South Central Crip gang members coming in, okay? Most of them. That's not all of our burglars, but that's the crew that works together as knock-knock burglars. Now I have the tweakers, the meth guys coming in, that are the transits coming into your neighborhoods too, breaking into houses. But the crews that do it together are the South Central gang members. The best thing they can find in your house is a gun. They want to find guns. So if you advertise that you have a gun and you don't have cameras and have that dog in there, then do you know what I'm saying? So like I'm just telling you. Oh, that's the gentleman in the back had a question.
Oh, I was just wondering about the bear spray. Are you only mentioning bear spray to keep at home, or you just said maybe your wife takes it where
My
she goes
wife,
as well?
my wife keeps it in the pocket door of her car,
Okay.
and then when she has to get out and pump gas, she sticks it in her purse, and then we just bought another one for her to take walks with, because I have bears and mountain lions kind of where I live, and I don't want them confronting my dogs, you know. And
But
then,
didn't you also suggest keep one by your front door, keep one under your bed?
yeah, so like you don't want to be without it. So like we keep one by our front door. My wife has a buffet right by our front door. We keep it right in there. And so you go to the front door, you don't, oh, now I can go back to my bedroom and get this. It's always there, you know. It's a cheap investment. $40 is, to me, is cheap for feeling good, you know. So like so I buy it for like my sister-in-laws. I got them one for Christmas, and I just start handing them out, and people appreciate it, you know. Yes.
What brand did you get?
I can't tell you that, but I'll tell you
I
what.
looked on Amazon and there's like 2 or 3 different
Yeah, you
ones.
know,
I wasn't sure what
I
to
have
get.
one here.
Just go and yell.
Well, that's pepper spray. That's not bear mace.
Yeah.
That's totally different. Pepper spray is not what I'm talking about. Pepper spray comes out like somebody
Stream.
spitting on you, like really
Yeah.
like this, and it doesn't work. And in the middle of the night, when I wear contacts, I don't have my contacts on in the middle of the night. The gentlemen wear glasses. You come out, you're not seeing the best in the middle of the night, right? You come out. You don't have to with the bear mace. The bear mace will I could cover that whole doorway. So like that's what you want to do. You want to be in a room where the idiot has to come through your door. Anybody can cover the door with that bear mace, and it comes out a 30-foot cone and it'll paint them, right? And
Does it
there's
have a
no way the
kickback
cops not
or
gonna
anything
catch
has a
them.
Mace is
kickback?
no good?
Huh?
Very good.
Does it have a kickback when you press
Oh,
the
no,
button?
no.
Okay.
And it has a trigger system, so it's not just a spray can like this, you're holding a trigger system. So the can's pointed down, it has a trigger system on it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Almost like a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll say
it's like a
fire
mini
extinguisher.
fire extinguisher, exactly. And you look it on YouTube, you'll see there's a couple videos of these two idiots, they're friends, and two young guys doing stupid stuff like they do, and they spray each other. You see what pain they're in, and you think, wow, this is fantastic, you know. So I'm just saying. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
I just want to go back to the DVR question.
Right.
Because you said the DVR was the key.
Right.
How long do you have to store this stuff for, and how?
Well, you don't have to store it; it does it for you. So mine holds. When you add every camera, your DVR storage goes down. So I bought a better DVR. Mine holds for with 8 cameras. I think I'm at 15 days, 16 days.
So, and it's 24 frame holds. So it's seeing, is it 12 frame? I mean, per second. Is it like?
It's constant
It's
rolling.
live- it's
You
live,
can
or-
make it so you can change a lot of them. A lot of them you can make motion and it starts up, you know. But I don't. I bought a better DVR, so I don't have to do it like
So
that.
you just keep it
Mine's
running all the time.
constantly rolling, constantly
and
rolling.
24 frame real time, not kind of jerky. Slow.
No, real time. It's awesome. And like sometimes when my kids are home by themselves, the doorbell rings. They check who's on the camera. They know who's there.
Oh my
You
God.
know, so it's fantastic. Yes.
In the town that we've lived in Studio City, there have been just a couple homeless people that are completely out of their mind.
Yeah. There's a
And-
lot more than that.
Yeah, and so, I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, and they make me very nervous sometimes when I'm out with my
Yeah.
daughter to like walk past them on the sidewalk. What is the minimum that they have to do in order for me to be able to call you?
So when it
Like,
comes
is
to
it physical
so
contact
what comes
with
to
me,
like
or-
the term is LAPD. We don't use crazy anymore, right? So we use mentally ill. So my friend growing up, he's schizophrenic now. He's doing well. He's under medication and stuff. But there was a time where he was dangerous. He really was. And just because someone's yelling at whoever they're yelling at in the air or scaring you, that's not a crime.
Right.
LAPD cannot take them. So LAPD or any cops in California, we're allowed to take somebody if they're a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or unable to physically take care of themselves. So we had a guy, it was down in Newton Division, he would spray himself with silver paint and be in silver underwear and be out there in the rain. And he was perfectly healthy. The guy was yoked. He was tons of muscles on him, and he out there and he just yelled at cars. That was not enough to take him for us. Now, the issue is, where's your Department of Mental Health, like you're saying, is that's what we need. We need Department of Mental Health going out there, not LAPD, because I tell people this is, you have your brother or my friend who's acting up inside the house. You call us, hey, he's threatening this. You're calling officers with very, very minimal training on how to deal with this, right? I have a gun and I have my baton with me. If your brother or friend makes a move towards me in a negative way where I'm gonna get hurt, I'm gonna hurt him first, right? That's what you have to expect the officers. You have to expect this. I'm going home to my family's more important than that person to me. So I'm going home to that person. My partner's more important to that person, to us, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's the issue is, and we gotta push more mental thing, and that's what I was gonna get into next is, we have something called the HOPE team, HOPE. That's one great thing that our chief has done, and people like Paul Kokorian's push for. That was real good. We have a HOPE team, so these are officers that get more training in mental illness and outreach and stuff. And all these camps you saw, like, I don't know if you've seen any of my posts on nextdoor.com, that's the Department of Sanitation picking those camps up for me, helping me out. So we get there, and I'll go with the HOPE team. We post, hey, you want outreach? And Bob will say, no. Here, Bob, here's your ticket for having, we don't only give him a ticket for having your tent here. And okay, come back 2 days later, hey, Bob, you want outreach? Nope. Hey, Bob, we're gonna be back tomorrow, take your stuff. We get back, Bob, you want outreach? Nope, here goes all your stuff. And they'll store what they deem, what the sanitation department, not LAPD, deems as valuable for them in big trash containers with their names on it. They'll hold it for a certain amount of time, the person doesn't claim it, it'll be thrown away. Those people get paid more than LAPD does, the Department of Sanitation. Their training is very intense on hazmat stuff. So hazmat training is super expensive. So they deal with hypodermic needles, feces, everything you can imagine they're dealing with, and it's disgusting. Our city is lacking in that crew, that response team. We're trying to get more and more. So if you appeal to Paul Kokorian, can we get more of them? Can we get more officers working the HOPE team? Yeah. We also need more. So this is going to go to your state legislature, our county and state is, and mostly county, but you need Department of Mental Health. How come Department of Mental Health isn't driving around like LAPD? Yeah. I'll tell you what, is most of our calls are mental illness nowadays and homeless. So, yes ma'am.
Excuse me, I did ask that question at a meeting on Saturday, and actually I was told that the first, like once a week, they're out patrolling, walking around, mental health practitioners.
I'll be honest, I never saw them.
I know, I've never seen them either.
I've never seen them, so
they should really introduce themselves.
They're a ghost team around here, I'll be honest with you. So we have something called our SMART team. It'll be one officer and one clinician. LAPD started this, and a lot of cities around the country are now following it. We have a clinician. So me and my partner will get somebody who we deem as 5150, harmful, they want to commit suicide. If I take them to a county hospital, downtown county hospital, they admit one person an hour. If there's 8 people in line, those 2 officers and all the officers back are waiting 8 hours. That's how screwed up the system is, right? 8 hours, all these officers getting taken out, your money's being wasted. So now what these people do is they show up there, if there's enough of them, they'll come there with a clinician, they take over the person from our station, so the officer's probably with them about an hour and a half, no more than that. Instead of 4 to 5 hours, the officer gets back on the field, the clinician writes up the paperwork, and they take off with them. So that's what I think that we're going to need to start going into more. We have a person that protects the clinician makes the mental evaluation of it. Law enforcement goes back to stopping crime, you know, so, and then like, instead of making cops handle stuff that cops shouldn't handle, that's a medical issue, and that's what we need, so.
To Councilman Kokorian's credit, he did say in the meeting yesterday that there will be a dedicated HOPE team to the LA River in Studio City.
Well, they're trying, and so like, and I'll be honest with you, it's like everybody says, oh, we need homeless shelters. And I'm not exaggerating, maybe 80% of the homeless people I encounter do not want your housing, do not want anything. They want your money when you hand them out cash. And sometimes you've seen anybody try to give them a burger, sometimes people, I don't like mustard, I don't like, they'll yell at you sometimes about it. And if you ask my humble opinion, that's the wrong way to help them. The best way to help them is like through the Red Cross, and they have Salvation Army, all these other people come out and help them with stuff, and or towards mental. There's a lot of these now homes that instead of going to a county facility, they're opening up their own 72-hour place where those are great places to get help out with, because it's very hard to get these people into outreach, because in those shelters they can't use drugs, they can't use alcohol, so they don't like that, you know. So, yes, sir.
And they don't want any of the rap. Sometimes there's a faith-based rap in the background, and they
Sometimes, but most of the time now it's turning away from that. So like, they're not pushing any of the faith, like if it's a, if it's a Christian group or Buddhist group or Muslim group, they're not pushing that usually at those, then it's just sponsored by them, and which is a great thing, but they're not pushing, yes.
What about when you see these individuals on the freeway off-ramps and on-ramps and they have signs?
Mhm.
Who are they? Are they getting
Those are
paid to do
entrepreneurs.
that?
Oh my God.
They're making a good amount of money. So we have a husband and wife. She's they're off Laurel Canyon down by the 101. She's white with gray hair. He's a black guy. He's kind of like hunched over. They've been there for 15, 16 years. I know a couple. They make a killing, right?
Oh
A
my
killing.
God.
They stay in a motel up the way off Lankershim, just north of Sataquoy. They stay there for years. They have a car, they have a dog, and you go into their like motel / apartment. They got everything. They both are big crack cocaine users, and maybe they moved to meth now, but they're big on it, and they make a killing. And you see these old people, you're like, oh, I want to help them out, and I'm telling you, they make great money doing it. And then that's one of the huge problems is you all are way too nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Way too nice. That's why you don't see the homeless issue so much out by where I live, because people aren't as nice when it comes to that stuff.
Okay.
Well, it's coming into Century City now too.
Yeah, everywhere.
Those guys.
Everywhere. But like we all just have to be smart about everything that we do. So
Appreciate it.
Is it? Sorry.
Any more questions in here, because we're gonna be with the officers.
Did you clean out the Oasis homeless camp?
Yes, ma'am.
And, because I thought I saw the officers were standing around, and then it looks like they're moving next door to that empty lot that kind of goes up the hill.
They'll try, and like I said, is be careful where you ask us to move them from. They're gonna
Yeah.
move somewhere else. So I know the Ellie River. Everybody likes that. They want to be running on there. But for the most part, I hate to say it, is they're up in the bushes out of sight. So like we're not getting rid of the homeless anytime soon. So it's legal to sleep on your sidewalk. So be careful where you ask me to move them to. Because.
Could we take a quick
Yeah,
walkthrough?
give me 5 minutes, 2 minutes to check, make sure there's nothing like no kids or anything around, and I'll give you right back. Okay.